Hey friends, we need to peel back the curtain a little bit here. So I was editing this week's pod and I was like, what? You can't let this go without a couple things. First of all, I frickin' buried the lead. I forgot to tell what the name of my listener's tale is. It's called That Time I Almost Ended Up Hogtied and Bound, Living Inside of a Box in an RV, and the reason I now have a shotgun. Yeah. Oh, not kidding. And also, guys, this is a trigger warning. A lot of my content is oriented around entrepreneurship, etc. This is actually a dedication to a true crime podcast called Morbid, which is my very, very favorite. And they have a segment called Listener's Tales that we're covering. If this is not your jam, this is an explicit episode. This does include discussions of potential violence, sexual violence. And so if that is not what you want to listen to on your Friday night, woo, I understand. However, if you're down for a creepy story on this Friday night, then grab your popcorn, grab your wine, and I, as always, will bring all of the tea on this episode of Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire. Without further ado, let's roll tape. So when I was living in the StickerJunkie warehouse, when I was washing my hair in a sink, when I was running overnight shifts and working my fingers to the fucking bone and working my face off to rebuild my company, which was like on the brink of bankruptcy, very suddenly $1.84 million in debt. I am working around the clock. Brianna and I are sleeping in shifts, and I am listening whenever nobody else is around. This whole time, that whole first fucking nightmare of a year, I would pop on my Apple Max headphones and walk around and be packing boxes and shipping stuff out at like 2 or 3 in the morning and listening nonstop to the Morbid Podcast. Jenny Le Armendaris, our office manager, was like, you love true crime and you have never listened to the Morbid Podcast. I was like, girl, I don't really listen to podcasts, which was true. I didn't really listen to podcasts. And she's like, oh my God, it's like your best friends are telling you about true crime. And it's hilarious. Even though it's like super dark cases, for any of my listeners who don't know, the Morbid Podcast is a true crime podcast where they talk about like some truly horrific true crime cases. And then also like spooky stuff, spooky roads, spooky trails, spooky lakes. And in addition to that, they have a segment called Listener's Tales, where people like myself who are super fanatic fans of the Morbid Podcast send in their creepy, spooky stories. And I am obsessed with the Morbid Podcast. I love it. I never listened to a podcast before, and I have listened to all 777 episodes of their podcast, and I shit you not, I am currently re-listening to their podcast back from the beginning, and I'm already back up on episode like 100 and something. It's ridiculous. They are very funny. And a lot of the times I wasn't really paying attention. So there's a lot of the stories that I'm like, I know that I listened to this episode before, but I don't remember it at all because I was just like packing boxes and working while I was listening. Suffice it to say, favorite podcast for sure. No competition. And after the first super hard year has passed, if this is your first episode, I woke up very suddenly $1.84 million in debt, despite the fact that I had owned the exclusive sales rights on Minecraft. It's a ridiculous story. You can go back and listen to other episodes if you want to know it. And then Stickergate happened, which was insane. And my biggest competitor over at Sticker Mule went super crazy political and has said some astonishingly shocking, very bad, not good things, including his desire to bring back the R word. Look that up. It's fucking crazy. It's wild. It's wild. And I all of a sudden, like, I'm doing way better and I'm out of the warehouse, right? And I'm like living my life again. It's a wild story of how I got everything back. And what did get me through this, interestingly, is stories. All of the stories on the Morbid Podcast. These are master storytellers, and I am a pretty okay storyteller myself. And so when I want to listen nonstop to the way that somebody tells a story, it's probably going to be a pretty good story. And these ladies are very charming, engaging storytellers. And when Jenny said to me, it's like listening to your best friends tell you about true crime. And so I'd walk around with my big headphones over my ears, just listening at the witching hour at 3 a.m. to the Morbid Podcast. And sometimes when it was scary and I was in the warehouse by myself and I was going to have to work an overnight shift, I would listen to the listeners' tales because they weren't terrifying in the same way that like Ed Gein is terrifying. So I have always been a true crime girly. And I'm in this like lonely, alone warehouse listening for a year. And then I finally get an apartment and I get a place and I come to Sedona and I'm like, okay, and I know I'm going to make it because Stickergate has happened. And I decide to DM Elena, and which is crazy. I know there's no chance that she's ever going to see that because she probably gets. She has like a million followers, or I don't know. So I don't know how many followers they have, but a ton. And then she has many different podcasts that she does, and probably many different streams that people are trying to get her attention from, which I understand. I write Elena this. So for those of you who are not listeners of the Morbid Podcast, it's incredibly traditional at the start of a listener's tale to express how much you love Ash and Elena and true facts. So I wrote her, oh my God, it's so ridiculous. I was drinking wine, which I in fact am going to do on this listener's tale. To the max. The story is wild. Was a contestant on The Apprentice, true. Started a sticker company at like 24 and 51 now. Built 14 companies over the years, but woke up $1.84 million in debt on 9/9/2023. How? How the fuck did that happen? That's exactly what it says on my DM to Elena. Good question. It's all in the pod. This is not AI, LOL. Truly not. Seriously had to go back into my companies, previously big ones. Not so much right then. And rebuild an empire at 51. I moved into my warehouse, into my StickerJunkie warehouse. I really did. Holy shit. Literally lived there and slept there for a year, washed my hair in a sink, slept on a pull-out couch, worked from the time I woke up until the time I went to bed, was almost arrested by the IRS for issues that happened because of the embezzlement. Turned the company all the way around. Girl, all the way around. I did. That's a true fact. Now, at this point of typing this message, which still is longer, this is a very, very long DM. This is an unsolicited long DM. She's lucky I didn't leave her a voice message because that's more of my MO. I am sobbing as I'm typing this, sobbing as I was typing this. Because I just at that point realized that it was listening to the Morbid Podcast that stopped my mind from spinning all night long on how I was going to pay the next bill, how I was going to make the next payroll, how we just spent all this money on mailers and they did not work, how there were so many little things that I needed to get my duckies in a row on, and I had $0 to do it with. Negotiating from the bottom, girl. It was rough. It was not easy. It truly was not easy to turn that company around. I don't usually say things are hard. If I say things are hard, they're a 10 out of 10 hard. It was hard. Was almost arrested by the IRS for issues that happened because of the embezzlement, turned the company all the way around, and did motherfucking 482% increase. Sure did. True facts. Over the previous year. And what did I do on those late nights in my warehouse while I was packing boxes? Oh, I was listening to the Morbid Podcast. I really was. All night long. You will never know how much it meant to me. With the yellow heart, sort of my signature. And that's when I really started breaking down because there's no possible way that I could encapsulate into words how much it meant to me to listen to the Morbid Podcast. And it sounds ridiculous because it is about the most horrific true crimes. How do they have so much compassion for all of the victims, for the victims' families, the outreach they do for them? And also just hate the motherfuckers who commit crimes like that and then cover everything with like respectfulness and grace and also make it funny. Gen X. I know they're not actually Gen X, but I think that's why so many Gen X women resonate with them. You will never know how much it meant to me. My office manager, Jenny, recommended it to me, and I listened to the whole fucking thing. True fact, all of them. They're on 777 episodes right now. Today is October 8th. They might have released another one today. My office manager, Jenny, recommended it to me, and I listened to the whole fucking thing. Full fucking in tears right now. True. You ladies got me through some of the toughest moments of my whole life. I talk about you on my pod all of the time because of my backstory. I am now pitching a TV show and a documentary. Also true. And maybe a movie of the comeback of what happened to the biggest streaming services right now. I am straight up ugly crying as I write this. That was a fact. Thank God I took Rico on an extra walk today. Because in traditional morbid style, people always throw up pictures of their pets. Let's go ahead and see a cute picture of Rico right now, if you are joining me on YouTube. For those of you on audio only, he's adorable. This picture right here is what I call his Tinder profile pic. I looked at him and said, Rico, be 10% cuter. And he went, and like tilted his head to a side like you would if you were throwing some blue steel or some Magnum or something. Thank God I took Rico on an extra walk today, and he's snoozing in the corner. Totally so many all of the thank yous, all caps. I wish it was good enough to be a listener's tale, but thank God, no ghosties in the warehouse. You guys are the literal best, and I hope my show catches. This is true too. Ash and Alina are never going to see this because I have 164 subscribers on YouTube and I have a few hundred on audio. But if Ash and Alina, if you ever see this, I would love to do your stickers. We have a very special customized way that we do very cool shit and have very good ideas for what you guys should be doing with their stickers. You guys are the literal best, and I hope my show catches and the pod grows enough to work together one day. That is legitimately true. I would love to have you on a Fireside Friday or be on a Morbid or just even print your stickers. I would love to print your I should for sure be printing your stickers because you might be printing with one of my competitors and we are better than all of them. You would like us as much as I like you. Tell them wishing the very best. And we'll send you a fun sticker pack with all of our spooky season designs, which I absolutely will do. I absolutely will send that from StickerJunkie to the Morbid podcast ladies at their P.O. box. I will absolutely be sending you a really cute sticker pack. Be on the lookout for that. If you ever see, you're never going to see this episode, but cool. If you see this episode, that you will have already gotten the stickers. Thank you, XX. Andrea, that little like emoji where you're like, with your little heart, like your little sad smiley eye, and then some cute hearts. Okay, I have had less than a half a glass of wine. So all of the gushing for Ash and Alina in the Morbid Podcast. And now to my listeners, I have been promising myself when I speak to May, my very good friend on the phone, I'm like, fuck, man, I need to make my podcast more like the Voxers that I leave for May, which I affectionately call the X-Files. May Fox edition, where I leave her all the stuff that I legally am not allowed to say on the air because she NDA'd, and so am I. And so I keep wanting to make this podcast more and more and more of like, what does it really look like inside of my life of regrowing these companies and of what has gotten me through these incredibly long 2 years of nonstop working all day, every day for 27 months, which I am starting month 27 in 2 days. Because when I woke up that deeply in debt and that badly fucked up in my life, I'm like, look, if I work my face off for the next 27 months, I am going to be able to, from there, rebuild this empire, which if this is your first episode, go back and listen because spoiler alert, things are going well and they're still super fucking hard. But I was like, I want to let people in more, and I've never really talked about my love life. So I told May that we could do a series called Dirty Tea, where I just say different experiences from dating over the years. And this listener's tale falls directly into that. So without further ado, and with way too long of an intro and banter with myself, which I feel like Ash and Alina would approve of, we are going to enter in now to story time, listener's tale. That time, I almost ended up the lead subject of a Morbid episode. Okay, let's set the stage. So get ready for the long and windy tale because this is the full version of what happened when I thought I was going to end up in a box in an RV. Yeah, I sure did. So I had just left the Winston house in LA and was now living full-time in Sedona. I previously had been living part-time in Sedona and part-time in LA. And I'm like retired and kind of figuring out what I'm going to do next. And I know I want to relocate and be part-time in Sedona and part-time in Boulder, Colorado. My dream place, my favorite place on earth is Boulder, Colorado. And it's weird that I don't live there. I love Sedona. I love San Diego. I love New Zealand. I love a lot of places. I love the Kenai Peninsula. There's so many places I love to be, but Boulder, Colorado is like very, very close to my heart. But I only have a home at this point in Sedona, and I'm bored, right? I'm retired, living my best life. And I'm going to the dog park every day because I have 2 dogs, Rico and Lola, like the Copacabana, true fact. And so I'm like, I wish I could I wanted to meet a great guy. So I'm bored and I haven't really dated anyone since the con artist guy. And so in that song, Copacabana, okay, I don't want to get sued. Again, this sounds just like a Morbid Podcast episode. His name was Rico. Her name was Lola. His name was Tony. So because I have the dogs, Rico and Lola, named after that song, I kept saying, I just need to meet a guy with a dog named Tony. That is so random who the fuck names their dog Tony. Turns out a lot of people name their dog Tony. After I said that, I swear to God, I met a bunch of people who named their dog Tony. And I was like, oh, that's the other character in this song. So one day I'm at the Sedona dog park, which you go to like every day because Lola is a puppy and Rico is like 2.5. So they have so much energy. So every single day I would take at least either 2 huge hikes or a huge hike and go to the dog park. I mean, every day. I mean, like 2.5 to 3 hours of my day were making sure that my dogs had enough exercise because these are very big, very active, very healthy, very young dogs. Like now I go every day for about an hour on a walk with Rico, even still, and he's 12.5. So when he was a puppy, he needed like many multiple hours a day of exercise in order to be not crazy. And Lola, 10 times more so. We'll talk about her later. Oh yeah, she becomes important in this story. Lola is a guard dog. That is why I believe I did not end up a 48 hours special. Okay, we're foreshadowing. So I'm at the dog park and in walks a guy with a dog named Tony. Just a normal guy, just an average guy. He's not bad looking. He's not good looking. He's an average looking guy. He's like, oh, I used to be a D1 athlete. And I'm like, I could see that you were probably really handsome in college and you don't look like that now. You look normal. And he like gained a bit of weight and whatever. And he kept talking about that. And I'm like, I don't really care. Cause I'm in my head, I'm like, if I met somebody and they were 10 or 20 or some small, whatever he was, and wanted to get into shape, we would just go get into shape together. I am 10 or 20 or whatever, a little bit more pounds than I would like right now myself. So perfect. No big deal. So he's clearly digging me. And I'm not telling him very much about myself. Maybe little breadcrumbs, but like not very much. Just dog park friend. And he's going every day to the Sedona dog park and he is telling me all kinds of things about him. Yeah, I sold this company and it was in such and such space and it was like making $4 million a year and this, he doesn't know who I am. And I'm like, okay, cool. It's amazing. And he's really talking a lot about money. He's really talking a lot about how much money he has. And I'm finding that very, very distasteful, which is funny because my podcast is named The Making of a Billionaire. And obviously I talk really transparently about finances and money and dollars. But he's like trying to flirt with me by explaining to me how much money he has. And my response is never, yeah, me too. I'm 0% impressed. And I'm especially unimpressed that you are using this to try and go on a date with a woman. Cool. I'm guessing that works for you, but I'm good. Except for that his dog is named Tony. And I have been saying out loud to my friends, I just need to meet a guy with a dog named Tony. And they're like, oh, maybe you should give a different kind of guy a chance and whatever. And I'm like, meh. And quite frankly, you guys, I'm just bored. I'm bored and I live in a tourist town and this guy is a tourist and he's talking about his big, huge RV. And obviously I'm a big fan of Esther Hicks and I had gotten to see the inside of her big, beautiful Prevost rock star bus when she used to have that with Jerry Hicks. And he has a Prevost Rockstar bus. This is a $1 million RV. This is the most beautiful RV. Personally, if I was going to have some kind of an RV like that, I would want it to be off-road and I would get an Unimog designed by Unicat. Look it up if you don't know it. It's fucking amazing. However, this dude has this beautiful $1 million RV. And I'm like, okay, cool. You're rich. I get it. Cool. And so we start talking about road trips. So our whole interaction, he's telling me his whole life story. I am telling him about the road trips I've been on because I have driven every freeway in the country and 70% of the scenic highways. I have over 1 million miles driven. That becomes important to the story. So we're talking about road trips. I like this road and I like this road. And he is like, oh, I'm on a permanent road trip now. Basically, pretty immediately, would you like to go on a permanent road trip with me? And I'm like, coffee, maybe? Like, he's immediately sort of becoming a smitten kitten. And I'm like, maybe I'll go to dinner with you. So he asks me to dinner and I'm like, cool, that sounds fine. Like, there's no illusions. I'm not leading him on, but I'm like, all right, I'll go to dinner with you. You know, I'm not really dating. I'm not really in a space where I'm dating, but if you want to take me out to a nice dinner, I will go to a nice dinner. It's been a minute since I've been to a nice dinner. And so we go to this beautiful restaurant in Sedona called Dal and DeLuca, and I know the owner of that restaurant. So I call her and say, hey, can I get table 16 at Dal and DeLuca, which is the table you want? It's like a little private curtain area. There's a couple really good, very coveted tables at Lisa Dahl's restaurants, and I know what all of them are because I am a Sedona local. So I call up and ask for this very specific table, which we get, and we have this very lovely, can have a conversation type of meal. And he asks me what I'm going to order, and I'm vegetarian, so I'm ordering like the eggplant parmesan, which is fucking chef's kiss at that place. The grilled portobello, also with like fucking potatoes and asparagus. Stop it right now. It's fantastic. If you're in Sedona, Arizona, strong recommend. So he asks me, what type of wine do you want to drink? And I say, Papillon. Papillon, which makes me feel fancy, is French for butterfly, and it's a wine by Oren Swift. They do not sponsor me. They 1,000,000% should. I am just saying, if you would like to send a case, I will drink it. And this is a nice bottle of wine. This is a pricey bottle of wine. It was like maybe $50 at the time, and so it was on the menu for like $85. And it's my favorite wine also. And he legit had just asked me what I want to drink, and I said that. So then the waitress comes, and he's literally looking at the prices. And so this dude, instead of ordering what I told him I actually wanted, which is legitimately my actual favorite, is like, that's not that good, and orders a $300 bottle of wine instead to impress me. This dude also has no idea that I am wealthy. I'm like, okay, first of all, what? That is a ridiculous waste of money. That is, people would argue that spending $50 on a bottle of wine is also, or $80 or whatever. I was like, that $300 10 years ago is like $500 now. I'm like, what are you doing? And I legit just told you what I actually wanted, and he ordered for me. Like, he was like, she'll have this, and I'm like, okay, cool. You think that's classy to you? Cool. Like, that's great. Chivalry, all of the things, totally fine. And he's taking me out, so I'm like, totally fine. But the way that he was just like, we're gonna get this instead, I was like, why even did you ask me then? And then he brought up 3 times how much the wine cost, and I was like, what are you doing? But I'm more of just like observing this. And it's weird, but the conversation is fine because I'm just asking him about himself, and he's telling me his whole life story, which is interesting and whatever. But it basically summed down to, he sold a company. He walked away with like some amount of dollars from the sale of this company. And then his mom was a CEO of some big company that she said, hey, invest in this big company that I am the CEO of. And it was a big company, and something big was going to happen with this big company. And he made very lots of millions of dollars through that trade of purchasing something where he knew information that he should not have known. So anyway, I'm just going to make up a name for him. This is absolutely not his real name. He's terrifying. I'm not going to use his real name. We're going to call him Tyler. So we get through dinner, and then Tyler orders champagne, not just champagne, but like Dom Perignon. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll have a glass of champagne after having like a glass, maybe 2, of red wine. It's my 3rd drink. This is not normal. And we talk. And during that talk, he says to me, something comes up with something that I just was fixing or needed to fix at my place. And he says to me, I don't do that. I don't even know how to do stuff like that. I don't do that. I hire people to do that. That's like something a handyman would do. As if that is going to impress me. I would love to tell you a quick side story about my ex named Jeff, who I am sure would be fine if I used his just first name. We have been friends ever since we stopped dating a very long time ago. I was broken down off-road because I am a humongously huge hiker. That's why I have a G-Wagon, because it can easily 4-wheel off-road into the back of the best trails in Sedona. I've taken it off-roading everywhere. And it's the best high clearance vehicle. You're not going to get stuck, etc. So I get a flat tire in the very farthest back thing in Sedona. Jeff comes and rescues me. We had broken up 5 years earlier than that. he's like changing my tire. Then both of my tires are flat. So he rolls me out to get a new tire, brings me back. I don't have the right tool. So he makes a tool on the fly to get the bolts out of my back tire. And I'm like, why did we ever break up? This dude, if I'm like, hey, can you come build me a fence real quick? He will come build me a fence real quick. Hey, I have this thing going wrong with such and such. She'll be like, got it. He treats all women this way, my ex. I am used to the handy. I'm like, to the degree to which if a dude tells me that he is not going to be my ride or die in the zombie apocalypse, that he's not just going to fucking figure that shit out and go build something for me, you're already, sex is so far off the table that the table is way the fuck over there and sex is way the fuck over here. And a kiss is nowhere in between there. You are getting nowhere with me. If you're just like, oh, I hire people to do my handiwork. I'm like, cool, we are finished with any other flirty conversation. However, my actual car that I love that today has like 382,000 miles on it because I am that person that just like buys a car and drives it forever. True fact. I'm actually going to convert it to be an off-road vehicle for real and put like really nice tires on it and completely renovate it and just keep it for the rest of my life and have it as my off-road back trails, just like go into the back trails of Colorado, Alaska, Canada, Arizona, wherever I want to go hiking at in my beautiful ass G-Wagon that has like 382,000 miles on it. However, at this point in time, my G-Wagon had broken down and I had like, think maybe just lost the Minecraft contracts and I knew it was going to be super expensive to fix all the things that needed to be fixed in the G-Wagon because every like 7 years it kind of requires some things. And so I'm being mindful of cash and I'm going to take it up to the mechanics in Flagstaff to get it fixed. I already had asked homeboy Tyler for a ride up the canyon the next day. Like he was going to follow me because they told me at the dealership, like, we don't think we're going to have a courtesy car for you. I'm like, that's super fucked up. Like, let's go. You're Mercedes. Do better. Get me a courtesy car. But they're like, we just, we have low stock, like fucking whatever. And I have to wait for the diagnostic to see how long, this is so far in the weeds, but I have to wait and even see what's going on. So I already have another meetup with this person and we're going to take our dogs with us and take them to the dog park in Flagstaff. And I'm like, okay, I feel really safe because Lola's a legit guard dog, which we will get into a little bit later, the whole story of Lola. So we're driving the next day after these just asinine comments about how he's very proud of being not handy. And also he wants to ask me what I want to drink just so that he can tell me it's not good enough and order something that he deems better. And then I take a sip of it and I'm like, I'm sure it's fancy. I'm sure it's fancy as fuck because it's $300. But I legitimately, number one, do not like it as much. And number two, why the fuck would you ask someone what they want and then get them not that? Just etiquette 101. I'm sure you thought, in my mind, I'm like self-correcting for him. I'm like, okay, I'm sure he thought he was just being chivalrous and this is his way to show that he's interested and he wants to get me the thing that he thinks is the best thing. But I'm like, you could have just said, hey, there's this thing on the menu that I think is the best thing and fucking not mention the price of that thing. The amount of times that he told me that bottle cost $300, I'm like, I've got it locked in. I super understand. You have mentioned this already before. So the next day we meet up. He's following me up to the Mercedes dealership in Flagstaff there. And we drop our car off and we take our dogs, all of our dogs together to the dog park in Flagstaff, which is lovely. And they play and they're tired and hallelujah to that because it was the never ending journey to tire out those dogs. And then he drives me back to the dealership. And thank God, indeed, they did have a courtesy car. Thank God they had a courtesy car. So Tyler is right there next to me while the guy is going down the list of all the repairs that my car needs. And it's a lot. It's like $8,000 or something. And I'm like, okay, cool. That actually sounds right for however many miles it had at that point, right? Like it was maybe the 200,000 mile marker and it just needed a lot of replacement parts, which like completely made sense. Of this and that is wearing out. You might want to get XYZ. And I'm like, cool. I have $1,800 right now. What actually needs to get fixed? And how much does whatever the most needs to get fixed cost? And he's like, okay, well, for that, we could do XYZ oil leaks and then this belt or fucking whatever it was that was worn out. And Tyler looks at me and goes, well, I'll just pay for your repairs. Just get them all. And I was like, I'm good. So as soon as Tyler says I could just pay for the repairs, and I'm like, I'm fine. The lead manager guy goes, well, we have 2 G-Wagons on the lot. And Tyler just looks at me and he's like, well, I'll just buy you a G-Wagon. And I was like, No, this is not the first offer of that type that I have gotten. I know a lot of very wealthy people. I've had much larger offers. The best offer I ever had was a guy who was like, I will buy you a house anywhere you want in the world, and I'll put enough money in your bank account to last you for the rest of your life. And I go, well, how much do you think that is? I was 27 years old. I go, how much do you think that is? He goes, it's 2 million because you could do X, Y, Z with it and get a recurring fucking annuity off of it, and then have compounding returns on the rest and whatever. And I go, I think it's like 4 million. And he goes, cool, I will give you $4 million and buy you a house anywhere in the world that you want if you just come with me. Are you shitting me right now? Was that just a tangent side story? That truly happened. And I explained to this very lovely person who made me that offer that I actually was not a prostitute, not even a really expensive one. And so it was not going to be for a G-Wagon that I ever sold myself. It's ridiculous the type of things that women get. And it doesn't matter how successful you are, you still get comments like this. And he was so casual about it. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm not for sale. And so I am very for sure not for sale for a G-Wagon to this dude who has no idea that I'm like sort of this like very successful entrepreneur chick who just very suddenly found myself in a slightly different financial situation. So that's why I'm not just going to go buy a new G-Wagon. I'm not just going to go get $8,000 worth of repairs if I can get two right now. I'm rebuilding. A whole bunch of stuff just happened where I'm rebuilding, but I'm not in the same situation that maybe he was used to finding people in, where he could just like throw out some cash and have a really quick reward for that. But it was very clearly not like a no strings attached G-Wagon, because who the fuck gets those, right? And I was like, no, I'm good. I will just go ahead and get these $1,800 worth of repairs. And then thank God I have my own courtesy car that I could drive down the mountain in. But I had already agreed, number one, to go to dinner with him that night, and also to take him as like a thank you, because I thought he was going to have to drive me back up to Flagstaff the next day because he was very willing to. I get back. The dogs are super tired, and we're just going to leave them at my house and go take the shuttle bus to Mariposa, another one of Lisa Dahl's restaurants. I know it sounds like I'm doing an advertisement for Lisa Dahl. This is not sponsored. Her restaurants are fantastic. If you're in Sedona, go to any of her restaurants. So we go to Mariposa and we're having this beautiful meal. And he orders a ridiculously expensive bottle of wine. And Lisa has like a bunch of restaurants in town, but she happens to be at Mariposa that night. So she comes over to our table, and I know her. So we're chatting, and I introduce her to this dude, Tyler. And he's thrilled. He's thrilled to meet her. She's like, she has shine. She has glow. She walks into a room, she lights up a room. She's like had TV shows. She's just sparkly. She's a sparkly person. And she brings us some special appetizer thing because she's sparkly and lovely, and she's very lovely to the locals in Sedona. And then he orders, after we have already ordered a very expensive bottle of wine, he ordered Cristal. That was his favorite. And who doesn't like a good bottle of champagne? And I don't fucking have $500 bottle of champagne money. So I'm like, cool. All of the yes. This dinner was not as bad as the previous dinner. It was still not, I was like, there was no vibing. There was no kiss at the end of the night of $1,000 dinner. And I was really transparent with him of like, I'm vegetarian. The thing that I want on the menu is like $18. We're good. Like maybe 26 these days. But back then, you don't need to buy a $500 bottle of wine or a $500 bottle of champagne. I'm already in the seat. But cool, I'll drink him if you got him. We leave. He picks up his dog. He goes immediately home. I believe I don't even invite him in. You know, I just get Tony and give him back, and all is well, good night. And he's leaving town in like 2 days. And I'm like, cool. Thanks for the ride to Flagstaff. Appreciate you. He's like, can I see you again? I'm like, I'll take you to Chipotle as a thank you. And they make some cute joke about how like $1,000 dinner versus like a $7 Chipotle bowl is my contribution. And he's like, okay, cool. But can I show you my RV like on the way to Chipotle? And remember, the second dinner, way more pleasant, way more easygoing. He is passionate about some very specific things that his business was in. And I'm asking him all of these questions because I like to find out about every industry. And he's not used to a woman maybe having as much interest in his line of work. So it's fine. But I am expressing also to him, like, I'm not interested, but I still will take you to Chipotle. Like, you drove me an hour away to go get my car fixed, and it's fixed now. And you did offer to buy me a G-Wagon. Like, I'll buy you a burrito bowl. And so he's like, okay, cool. Can I drop Tony off again? I'm like, sure. That's where you already know where I live. It's fine. Oh, you guys. Because so far, this is not even a listener tale. This is like a ridiculous hour. It's not quite an hour, but it's a ridiculous amount of setup to what happened next. You guys, that was all too long. But you're catching the vibe here. Is he a little like, dude, bro? Yeah. Yes. Is he a little like trying to catch me with his money? Yes. Yeah. Has that happened to me before? Oh, consistently. None of this is surprising to me. He's a little awkward about it for sure, but it's fine. And he's not unattractive. He's not super attractive. He's not unattractive. He's fine. So the plan is he's going to drop off his dog. We were going to walk down to Chipotle, but instead he's like, oh, let's drive because I can show you my RV. And I'm like, okay, cool. And my car is back by this point, thank God. And so I drive us down. He leaves his car there and his dog is at my house, this house that I am in right now. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. And I drive him down to this very, 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 very close to me RV park, beautiful RV park that's like on the river in Sedona, where people who are traveling through can bring their RVs. You guys, I feel traumatized even telling this. So we go, thankfully, to this very public RV park that is really near to Lakapake, that is like in the center of Sedona, because he wants to show me this beautiful Prevost Rockstar RV. And the only other one of those I had seen belonged to Jerry and Esther Hicks, and they're beautiful. So I walk into the RV, and it's fucking gorgeous. It's $1 million camper bus. It's beautiful. It's like what a famous musician would take on a really big road tour. I mean, they're stunning and they are beautifully, beautifully built out. Again, I would get an Unimog built by Unicat. I'm in there, except for that it's disheveled. And it's like if a space was going to be a hoarder house in 15 years, and this is like year 1.5 or year 2 of it sort of evolving into a really sketchy, I don't feel safe, there's animal feces everywhere, hoarder space. Like, it wasn't there at all by any means, but that's the direction it was heading. It felt creeper vibes. It felt not great. It felt like, oh, what, this feels so off. So off. I have no words. 0 is the amount of words I have. And I'm touring this very enclosed, tight space with this guy. And I all of a sudden realize this is not who put themselves in this situation. However, very luckily, there are camping spaces very, very close. And there are RVs very, very close to where we are, like feet between the RVs that are next to each other. So I'm like, at least if I scream, a lot of people will hear me. I will scream fire because I'm a true crime girly and I know what to do. I will scream, Dad, come help me. And I look up and there is ashes on a shelving, very cluttered shelving unit. And I know this because my previous dog, Priscilla, had passed away. And if you're just going to get like a decently nice box from a vet, and also from not just from vets, but from a place, if you're not paying extra for an urn, this is going to be a very, very common wooden sort of curved box that is very clearly an urn. It's commonly used for pets, also sometimes used for people. And I go, who's that? I didn't have the fucking common sense of mind in that moment to keep my fucking mouth shut and not respond to the fact that I very clearly knew that there were a set of very significant ashes to him, because there was like dirty space, like fucking too much shit here, too much shit there, and then this very clean space with just like this shroud almost and a urn. And I go, who's that? And he looks at me like startled. Like, how did you know what that was? But he doesn't say that. He goes, he fumbles and is confused that I know that that is an urn. Oh, that's so-and-so, Rocky, or fucking whatever he said. I don't remember the dog name. Such and such dog that I had before Tony. And I was like, oh, Then I look down in the very cluttered, fucking dirty laundry everywhere area, and there is a chest at the end of his bed. I'm very tall, and it's coming up to like the top of my hip. So it is like 3.5 feet high, and it looks like an old sort of curved top chest that used to be on like a pirate ship with like a wooden chest with metal overlays on the top and a lock. And I'm like, oh, cool, let's go. So I had already previously sat in the front seat of that RV, and he's like, this could be your seat. We should go on the road together. And he was being dead serious. He's like, I've never met anyone like you, and you love road trips, and I love road trips. This relationship can be whatever you want. And just this is your passenger seat. I wanted you to sit in it so that you could know that this could just be your seat. And sort of the cadence of it was, which I have heard before, sort of the cadence of it was, if you go with me, we can have any life you want. And I'm like, cool. Get me the fuck all of the way out of here as fast as possible. But I previously already had sat in the seat. And I was like, in that moment when I sat in his front seat, I was like, this is such an easy life. I could have all of the things immediately. And it was at a point where I was like thinking of what to do next. And there was zero desire to move forward. I was like, I've gotten many offers like that. This is becoming quicker and quicker a no, but that was before I saw the urn and the chest. So I'm quickly making a bee fucking line into the open air. Fresh air in this case, in fact, is not for dead people. Fresh air is for people who are no longer in an RV with a box that they might end up into. A chest at the end of his bed, let's don't do that. More than enough room to comfortably fit a hog-tied and bound woman for however many years that he would like for that to happen. I'm like all of the way, I'm freaked out, but like I'm also like, am I watching too much true crime? Because spoiler alert, when I lived in Venice Beach, which I had just moved out of, I met a guy with a dog named Steve at the dog park who was a person that was on Criminal Minds. And he was, I'm not joking because it's LA and there's actors everywhere. And I didn't know who he was. He finally told me who he was because we would just show up in our pajamas at the dog park. And he's like, oh, I'm on this show. And he said something about the Four Seasons. And I'm like, you look like you're homeless. And so do I, because we're like rolling out here at 6 a.m. to the dog park. But you're acting like you have been to every Four Seasons, because he's like, oh, the Four Seasons in Maui is my favorite. And I'm like, a good one. You don't look like you've ever seen the inside of a Four Seasons. And he's like, oh, and I go, wait, let me guess. You're in LA. Are you an actor? And he goes, I am. And I go, have you been on anything I would have heard of? Because I haven't owned a TV for my whole adult life. And he's like, yeah, I was on Criminal Minds, actually. He took prodding, but he finally said he was on Criminal Minds. Because I was like, look, I know that we both look homeless, but I owned the sales rights on Minecraft, and I have a tech company, and clearly we both live in a very expensive area. You appear to me right now, from what you're saying, like you are famous in some way. And I don't know that because I haven't had a TV my whole adult life. And he's like, yeah, I am kind of famous and I'm on the show. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I go watch the Criminal Minds show, and I had just fucking binged that whole entire very dark, very morbid series. And I also haven't owned a television for my whole adult life. So I was not used to TV that felt like it was a fucking 18-hour movie watching a series. So I was very like, am I overreacting here because I just have re-exposed myself to television and I've been watching true crime, or is this as spooky as I think it is? Spoiler alert, it's worse. So we come back so that he can just get Tony and fucking go on his way, because there was a 0% chance that mommy wants to be in the passenger seat, which if I step one toe out of line is going to be a straight ticket to the chest at the end of his bed. Oh, whew, whew. I called one of my girlfriends, Kristen, and I told her what happened. And she was like, did you give him measurements? And I go, measurements for what? And she goes, for the box that he's having built for you right now. And we go to Chipotle after that, you guys. Awkward. I'm like barely holding it together, but I'm a really stoic person. So I'm trying to like mask my responses. And I am a fucking professional level expert at doing that. So I'm pretty sure I didn't look as freaked out as I actually was. So then we come back to my house just so that he can get his dog and bounce. But he has zero desire to bounce. Correct. Zero. And so I'm like trying to make casual conversation. That's when he in fact does show me his bank account. He likes like, can I pull something up on your computer really quick? I'm like, sure. So he shows me his bank account with like $13 million in it. And I'm like, cool. You have to all of the way go. I don't care if I woke up on 9/9/2023 and actually was $1.84 million in debt. And you're like, I'm going to give you half of my money and also pay off your debt. I'd be like, just go as fast as you can. There's a zero. Mommy's not for sale. There's not a prostitute, not even a really expensive one. Nothing wrong with sex work. I'm so thankful for OnlyFans so that people can have a more safe exchange, because this is an exchange this was a series of meetings that was innocuous and fine and turned dangerous so fast, shockingly fast. I see the RV, I'm freaked out. We go to Chipotle anyway because I don't want to give any indicator that I'm freaked out. And we're going back to my house, my home that I'm in right now, so that we can get his dog. Except for that I have Lola. Remember when I told you I was going to tell you about Lola? Yeah, I'm going to tell you about Lola now. So Lola Pola, my sweet Lola, is a black-mouthed cur. She's a pound rescue. All of my dogs I've ever had are pound rescues. And no shade, live your life, but also get a pound rescue. So I go to the pound and I see Lola, and she is a fucking ball of muscle. And I've had a couple of pit bulls at this time, and she looks like a pit bull mixed with like maybe a Rhodesian Ridgeback. I didn't know what a black-mouthed cur was. I got her DNA done, and she is a black-mouthed cur. Those are some badass motherfucker dogs. Like, if you just want a badass motherfucker dog who is a fucking pain in the ass, who you have to train, who is like the energy on those dogs, you guys literally go to YouTube and look up black-mouthed curs treeing bears. I'm not joking. They are working dogs. They bay hogs and they tree bears. They will do all of the things. They don't really protect livestock as much as they keep predatory animals away, up to and including where I live in Sedona has wild boars. They're not actually boars. They're part of like a rodent family. But there's these big ass pigs called javelina. True. And javelina are not afraid of dogs. They're not. As a matter of fact, they will gore a dog if your dog attacks them because they travel in packs. However, Lola makes this weird fucking loud high-pitched noise and charges at a pack of like 20 plus javelina, and they go into like a herding pattern for her. They run as fast as they can away from her, and they are so fast. She goes off. She almost got Rico killed twice because she ran after coyotes. But coyotes, pro tip, will, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, they mate with females, but they will kill the male. So I'm like, you just go live your life. If you want to go have some fun with coyotes, you just do that, but you can't bring Rico into your fucking drama, homegirl. And anyway, she ended up being a very lovely, fantastical, wonderful dog, but she was wild at this time still. She was like 1.5 or 2 years old. And beautiful and so sweet and so loyal and so protective. If like people would come to my house for any reason whatsoever to fix something or to deliver a package, I would have to keep her in the back bedroom because she would slam herself into the windows that are by my front door. I thought she was going to break them. She was a guard dog. Rico is like, I'm cool, I'm chilling, I'm living my best life. Do you have a piece of steak? That would be great. I would love that. Thank you. Don't hurt mommy, obviously, but I'll just be right here. Lola is like, I will rip your fucking throat out. I already don't like you the second you walk in the door. You have to like earn all of the love from me. And if you do anything to make mommy feel uncomfortable, you are fucking toasty toast. And Lola is in the house. And I am immediately uncomfortable. I'm so uncomfortable. I didn't even want to let him in my house, but when we got here, he sort of just like walked in my house. This is a bad situation. I should never have put myself in this situation. I don't know a woman who hasn't been in this situation at some point in their life. But I'm not as freaked out by the fucking end of the bed chest until what happened after the end of the bed chest happened. So he shows me the money in the bank account, and I finally tell him, because he's like, well, I'm just super rich. And I looked at him finally and I'm like, yeah, so I'm rich too. And I'm like, I'm good. And then he said, but I had a dream. And I was like, what? And he's like, well, it wasn't really actually a dream. It was more of like a revelry. And he's eating something. I think he got ice cream. I did not get any. I think he got ice cream and he's like eating it super slowly in the most sickening off-putting, creepy-ass fucking way. And I'm in my kitchen by the butcher block, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can just like grab a knife and drill it real fast into his eye socket because I watch The Walking Dead, and I'm like, just react with like an overwhelming amount of violence is usually the right answer when you're in a situation like this. Like somebody asked me once, what would you do if you were in a situation with Ted Bundy? And I'm like, oh, Ted Bundy was like a wimp. Ted Bundy was like, he had to feign an injury. And anyone who reacted with him like in a loud, very vicious, very violent way, he ran away a couple times. So he would have been like caught off guard by somebody truly, truly fighting back because he would disable his victims really, really quickly. Like he'd hit them with this fake cast that he wore on his arm. So the correct answer is I said I would approach Ted Bundy immediately with an overwhelming amount of violence. I would immediately gouge his eyes out as much as I possibly could. I would pop him as hard as I could, as fast as I could, multiple times with my elbow into his Adam's apple. I would be so immediately over the top vicious at the first sign of danger that he would be afraid and run away. So I'm like, okay, I have a knife set right in front of me. I will immediately try and slash slits into both of his eyes immediately so that he's just disabled quickly because I'm terrified at this point because of what he said to me. He's eating this ice cream in the most sickening fucking kind of way. And he goes, I had this reverie, really, actually, after I had my morning coffee where I thought of blah, blah, blah. What he said to me was so fucking repulsively disgusting that I will not repeat it. There is a recent episode where Elena, who has a potty mouth rivaling only my own, would not repeat what the unidentified person, no spoilers, on unknown number. If you haven't watched that, watch it. What the unknown person on unknown number said. I was like, bitch, why will you not say what she said? It literally cannot possibly be that bad. And then I watched Unknown Number, the documentary on Netflix, and I heard the texts read out loud. I'm like, oh, I understand why she wouldn't say them. It was about 8,000 times worse than that. It was the most horrifically disgusting thing that anyone has ever said to me. And I've had some terribly, terribly bad things said to me. It was terrifying. I had a reverie this morning and I imagined me doing XYZ to you. And XYZ was like toy box killer level of terrifying. And I was like looking at Lola on the couch and I was like, I literally was just in a state of shock. And I'm like, if I tell him to leave right this second, he's going to attack me. And while I do have a plan, he still is a guy. And he still was a D1 athlete, and he still just is way stronger than I am. Am I sure that Lola will attack him? I'm positive. Am I sure that if Lola attacks him, that Rico also will attack him? I'm certain, and they are way stronger dogs than his dog Tony, but I am terrified. And I am in an enclosed space with someone who I am certain is dangerous at this point. And I'm like, and he's sitting exactly where I'm sitting right now, and I'm across the kitchen island. And I said, let's go sit down and chat and like look at this pretty view. Because I said, I don't really know what to say to that. So let's just go sit and chat. Oh, we interrupt this podcast with a special message. You guys, I know we all need to take a breath. I know. So last night I was drinking wine and I was not capable of repeating what this man very terrifyingly said to me. Then I told my friend May what in fact he said, and she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, correct. Oh yeah, that's a correct response. It was an entire what the fuck moment. So I am going to give you a cleaned up version of what this man said to me. So he's looking at me, and as he's eating his ice cream, he said, "Oh, this is reminding me of when I was eating my oatmeal this morning. And I had this fantasy about you." No, he didn't call it a fantasy. He called it a reverie. And I had this reverie about you. And you were flipped upside down, suspended. Ladies, we have not kissed. This man has not made a move to kiss me. Then he goes, and I was committing a sex act with your throat. If you are listening on audio only, I am very lightly tapping my forehead because that's what he was doing with his hand. He was hitting his palm to his forehead lightly. He then proceeds to close his eyes and flip his hand around, and he's hitting the back of his hand against his forehead. Yes, he is, closes his eyes and says, because I wanted the feeling of my BALLS against your forehead. I can't wait to feel that. Then he dead ass opens his eyes and looks me right in the eyes. And I am terrified. I am shook. I am like, we have not kissed. This is not a thing. This is not a thing. This is not a thing. And because he is looking directly at me, oh, in my eyes, yes, he is. He, I am guessing, is looking for terror, or for sure is looking for what the fuck my response is to this coming out of goddamn nowhere. This man had been a gentleman up until this point. Even when I was like, yeah, this is just, I'm not really feeling it. Like we could be friends. And asinine. Asinine. Anyways, I do not remember what I said to this, but what I know for sure is I had a fucking ice cold water running through my veins in that moment. And I was like, oh, I am very suddenly in a terrifying situation. So if it sounded overblown that I was plotting and planning what to do with the knives, he wanted to see me suspended in midair, upside down and bound so that he could do things, whatever the fuck he wanted, and feel himself in the region of my forehead. So what do you say to that? Good question. I don't recall what I said, but I do recall that I stayed completely nonplussed because I was like, if I do not give him a terror response, that's going to go way better for me. And I said something to diffuse the situation, which I honest to God do not remember what it was, but it most likely was something sort of like in a little sex kitten voice. Well, I think it's a little bit early for that kind of a conversation, which is when I then very quickly made my way over to the chair. Why did I not go directly to the door in that moment? Because I would have had to pass within 6 inches of him. So I went the longer way around. Please continue the story right where we were. Roll tape. So we go sit and chat in the chairs right behind me if you're watching on YouTube. And I said, well, tell me a little bit more about yourself because I don't know very much about you. And he has, I know I said in my Instagram reel he only had one tattoo, but he actually had 2 tattoos. He has a tattoo that's barely sticking out from the sleeve of his t-shirt. It's just like a little piece of a tattoo. And I said, what's the tattoo? What's that about? Tell me the story. When did you get it? I didn't realize you had a tattoo before. Do you have more? He's like, oh, I only have one other one. And then he pulls it up and it's this very terrible tattoo. It's like just terrible. And he said, yeah, I got it when I was 16. And I looked at him and I go, yeah, that sounds right. Because I'm just trying to maintain my composure. And I tell you, even as disgusted and grossed out as I am while I'm recalling this story, I was stoic in the moment when he said the most fucking sickening thing, sexual thing that a person could say to another person who they have never kissed, never attempted to kiss. All of it's very sudden that I realized how incredibly dangerous of a situation that I am in. And he says, oh, I got this when I was 16 and it's not very good and I have one other tattoo. And I go, oh, where's your other tattoo? And he goes, it's here. And I go, what? He goes, it's here. And I go, is it on the inside of your lip? Because I've had 2 business partners that both have tattoos that are incredibly meaningful to them on the inside of their lip. They also both have neck down tattoos. They have tattoos on their knuckles, on the back of their hands, on their whole bodies. They're covered in tattoos. It is 0% surprising to me that they have a tattoo on the inside of their lip. In this circumstance where you have one tattoo that you got when you're 16 and you're a man in your early 40s and you have one additional tattoo that is on the inside of your lip, that is a very strange choice of a placement. To me, maybe that's super normal. Maybe, I don't know. And I go, oh, where's the other tattoo? I'm just trying to fucking calm down. I'm trying to control my breathing at this point. He pulls his lower lip all the way down. And there's a tattoo on his lower lip. And I was like, cool. He's like, do you see? And I do not want to get closer to his face. And I'm like, what? I can't tell what it says. It's backwards. I can't. I'm panicked, but nobody can tell I'm panicked when I'm panicked. But I'm panicked. And I go, oh, what's that? And he goes, oh, it's my mother's birthday. And I go, I had previously right before he told me the incredibly sexual thing, saw, for I believe it had to have been the first time, I saw his screensaver. And he has a dog, so I would assume that he's single. His screensaver is his dog. No, it's not. It's not. It's a picture of him cuddled up with a very much older woman. Right before he said the super sexual thing, I said, oh, who's that? Because it looked like his girlfriend, except for very much older. Oh, that's a picture from when I was on vacation with my mom. And I was like, oh, that very cuddled up. That very, what the fuck? That very cuddled up picture that is your screensaver on your phone is you and your mom? Ugh. Anybody here ever listen to true crime? I'm like, what the actual fucking motherfuck? So right now, my office is re-listening to my whole podcast, and the mailman walked in the other day, and that's when Jenny told me how much I swear. Because I was saying something like, what in the fucking motherfuck when the mailman walked in, but what in the fucking motherfuck? What? I'm like, I'm not hyperventilating, but inside of my mind, I'm hyperventilating. I've just discovered that this man has a screensaver of him snuggled up with his mother. Last week on my podcast, my guest was my brother, my own very brother, who I love, David Lake, interviewing me on the podcast. I promise you that David has 0 pictures in the history of ever that look like that picture of Tyler with his mom looked. They looked like they were dating in this picture. I was like, ugh, ugh. All of the no, let's do not that. What is happening right now? And then he has her birthday tattooed on his inner lip. And I go, oh, is this? I'm like trying to think of a next thing to say. I can't think of a next thing to say. I'm panicking. Nobody can tell that I'm panicking except for Lola. Lola was laying down on my couch, and all of a sudden Lola is sitting up at rapt attention. She is staring at me, waiting for an indication. She gives a low growl. Lola never gives a low growl. This is not a thing when someone is comfortable in my home that Lola does. Lola previously many times has slammed herself into those windows if someone is outside. When someone is inside of my house, Lola is asleep. She's very well exercised. She's not paying attention to anything. She sits up at full fucking attention on the couch, and she is ready to leap over the coffee table and jump into the chair that this man is sitting in and rip his throat out, because I am very clearly, very subtly, in a way that almost nobody else understands, very, very terrified. To this day, credit the fact that Lola was in this house, that this sorted out so easily. Because then Lola gives that low growl, and I'm scared. And I go, oh, was it like in memorial? And he goes, what? And I go, did your mom like pass away? No, spoiler alert. Mom, still alive, just felt compelled to tattoo her birthday on the inside of his lip. Thought that was a great idea. Yeah. And I go, what? I go, wow, this is exactly what I said in exactly this tone. I go, wow. And then I stand up really fast. For those of you listening on audio only, I am very suddenly standing up. I am very suddenly standing up out of my seat, and I go, no. He goes, what? And I go, no. That is the creepiest fucking thing that I have ever heard in my whole fucking life. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of my house. Who the fuck do you think that you are, that you said that you wanted to do burp, burp, and I repeated back to him the fucking horrifyingly, overly sexual, most disgusting thing that he imagined between us. This person that I have never kissed, have made clear that I'm not dating, even though I'm like still kind of hanging out because I'm bored. I am being very transparent that I'm still kind of hanging out because I'm bored, and he's about to leave town, and I hope he goes and lives his best life and meets his person. And I go, you need to get the fuck out of my house right fucking now. And he's like, what? He's like thrown off guard. And Lola is no longer low growling. Lola is straight up growling. And he's like, what? And I'm like, that's the creepiest shit I've ever heard. Because when he said to me, like, oh, it's my mom's birthday, he said it to me like I would take that as some endearing thing, that he's like such a good son because he tattooed his mother's birthday on his inner lip after seeing his hoarder house. I'm like, you need to go right fucking now. And Lola is no longer sitting on the couch. She's standing on the couch and straight up growling at him. And I'm like, you need to go right fucking now. And he looks at me for a second, but he doesn't really look at me. He looks at Lola. And I'm like, that's right. You need to go right now. I very quickly move around to my front door. I throw open the front door. I call my dogs outside of the house. And I am now outside of the house. My dogs are outside of the house. I'm proceeding to walk as far away from the house as I can because I do know all my neighbors and like catch the attention of anyone that is around. Thank God it is daytime. Thank God Lola is there. I can tell he's calculating like what to do, but I'm just like, you need to get the fuck out. So he gets the fuck out of my house. Thank God it was like 11 o'clock in the morning, or 12 o'clock in the morning. It was like super early. We got to Chipotle right when it opened, and we come right back here after breakfast so he could get his dog and bounce out of town. I was supposed to leave Sedona the next day, and I was like, no, I'm good. I'm gonna right now leave town. So he leaves, which I feel like is he's just temporarily leaving and recollecting himself. I grabbed the minimum amount of things that I need to leave. And remember, I don't have like a place somewhere else that I can easily go to. And Lola is a very active puppy and all of the hard to manage. She's very untrained. I just had adopted her recently. So I don't have like a place that I can easily go travel to with this extra dog. And I don't give one single shit. I'm like, I'm going to die if I stay in this home tonight. So I get just a very couple things. And within 10 or less minutes, I am out of this house and on the road and way out of Arizona as quick as I could be, and went to somewhere that I don't even remember, San Diego or Boulder or fucking somewhere. And I was like, and I just thought, first of all, I'm super glad that I still am wealthy enough and mobile enough to be able to actually just leave town, because I know that I dropped the thread on the stalker story. May told me that I dropped the thread on the stalker story after I was a contestant on The Apprentice and I had a stalker, and this FBI agent gave me some very good advice, and then I no longer had a stalker. And it was that a stalker, to be interested in you, has to feel like they have some type of feedback loop, like it's a mental disorder, and they have to be able to feel like they have some attachment to you. So if you're famous and you're just like releasing songs, right? Like Taylor Swift very famously has a stalker. So many celebrities do. And then that person feels like you are speaking to them through whatever content you're releasing. Well, I didn't release any content. I was super private. I always thought that privacy was the best thing that money could buy, and I was wealthy. And so I just was very private. I never posted about anything. I just like lived my very private, very good feeling life. And I would post 2 or 3 times a year, but never when I was actually physically in a location. And so I very quickly got on the road, and I very quickly thought, like, how fucked are women who can't just leave, who don't have the financial resources just to be away from wherever the danger is? Like, so I left town immediately within like 10 minutes of this happening. And then I came to find out this. Oh yeah, the story's not done. This is a 2-parter for sure, obviously. Then I came to find out that this dude did mill around town for a few more days, and he wasn't supposed to. Actually, I think it was for a few more weeks, and then he kept coming back into town. But I like went and found a place to go live in Boulder and was not local for like a while. And he started taking out one of my dog park like friends who kind of was a mess and was like living on the fringes of society. She's like just a dog park person that I knew, and taking her to $1,000 dinners. They might have fooked. I don't know. But he was asking her all about me and trying to dig for information. But this person didn't know me. She had dog sat Rico a couple times. She didn't know who I was. And she was like texting me like, why were you so rude to him? Like, he's such a nice guy. And I'm like, such and such. He has a tattoo of his mom's birthday on his lower lip. Stay so far away. Also, we're not friends, and don't try and tell me who to date. This is so weird. This is gross. Just stay all the way away from him. And when you're out to dinner with him, do not tell him a single thing about me. He's terrifying. She's like, he's not terrifying. What are you talking about? I'm like, meh. Just go all of the way away. So I forget kind of all about this. I'm living my best life in Boulder. Fast forward to 2016. Oh, yeah. This is where the shotgun comes in. Fast forward to 2016. Mommy needs some wine. Okay, if you're watching on YouTube, we're about to have some wine. And we're going to fast forward to 2016. So 2016, I'm living my best life. I'm rolling out my t-shirt company course. I'm kind of enjoying my retirement. I'm just going to start teaching entrepreneurship. And I'm staying in Boulder. I'm staying in Boulder a lot. I'm staying in Boulder mostly. And I host an event called Boulder Magic, where all of my friends come into whatever town I'm in at the moment, and we do very fun, very cool shit, and I'm living my best life. So I'm coming back to Sedona for like a week or 2 weeks or whatever from my Boulder house. And I decide I'm just going to hit this in a straight shot. That is a long ass drive. That is a 14-hour straight drive day. That is a no messing around shit. And I just hosted like 100 of my favorite people in Boulder. I'm exhausted. I am all of the exhausted. It is Memorial Day weekend. It took me 14 hours to get home. I started at maybe 4 in the morning. It's like 6 o'clock at night. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm so fucking tired. However, I've been out of town for months. So I am going to like run to Whole Foods and just like get my groceries and come back and then be set for the next couple weeks. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to make my way to Whole Foods. I'm going to come back and just be settled for the couple weeks I'm here. Cool. And I take the turn up into my neighborhood in Sedona. And it is a very particular turn. And the literal only reason that you would go up this particular road is because you live in this neighborhood. There's a lot of turns like that in Sedona or in any tourist town that's like kind of surrounded by mountains. And I'm waiting and I'm exhausted and I literally, legitimately cannot wait to climb in bed. And I am on the phone with a person who I'm actually most likely going to start dating. And we're talking the whole drive back to Sedona and we're planning our next meetup and whatever. And he is an exceedingly very incredibly wealthy guy who is like incredibly also well protected because of the quantity of wealth that he has. And he legit cannot believe that I do not have a gun in my car. He has talked to me about this many times. He's like, you travel all over the place and you are not properly protected if shit hits the fan. And I'm like, and he's like, and you know how to use guns. So what are you doing? And I'm like, it's fine. I'm fine. And then I make that turn after having this conversation multiple times with homeboy and the guy that I'm about to date. And I take a left and I see Tyler standing there 18 months later on the street corner of the neighborhood going up to where I live. Only reason that somebody would be there is to see the people who are coming up that road. No reason to just hang out standing on the side of the road right there. And remember when I said Tyler was like a little overweight? It was more than 10 or 20 pounds, probably 30 or 40 pounds overweight. And he kept saying, I used to be a D1 athlete. I used to be in such good shape. I'm like, cool. I could see that. And he's like, I was so attractive in college. I'm like, you're not in college right now. But still, you're not a bad looking guy. And if he did get himself into shape, he would be a pretty good looking guy. So he's standing on the corner. And he's in perfect shape. As if that was the problem. Ladies, he thought that that was the problem. I know he did. And then he looked at me. It is burned into my brain, the look that he gave at me. He looked at me and pointed at me and was like, pointed at me and then threw his arms out like, and kind of did like washed his whole arms down at his body. Like, look, I've transformed. I'm in perfect shape. I'm your perfect guy now. I did the things. And so now I get you, right? Because that's what was wrong. You weren't attracted to me because I was like 30 pounds overweight. And I'm like, no, 0 fucking what the fucking fuck? What? The fucking fuck. If the post office guy comes in right now, we're screwed because what the actual fucking fuck. But I could tell that that's what he was thinking of like, look, I lost the weight. And he was laughing. He was laughing like we were engaged in a shared joke. He was laughing, guffawing. He slammed his hand on his knee, bent forward. He's like, look, here I am, your perfect guy now. And I was like, okay, it was super never the weight that was the issue. It was the literal ratio and percentage of odds by which I was calculating that I was going to, in fact, end up in one of those boxes. Either the big one that you kept me in alive for a little while, real quiet like so nobody could hear me if they came inside, or the little one on the shelf that seemed quite clean and nice compared to the chaos around it. Let's all of the way don't. If you see this podcast, I do still know who you are. I do still have your full fucking name and all of your contact information because I was terrified. So I call this other person who was a long-term we might at some point get together in person and explain what just happened. And he said, you need to leave right now. And I said, I just have been on the road for 14 hours. Rico and Lola, I'm exhausted. He said, do you have any weapons in the house? I said, I don't. He said, do you have anybody that can come over? I said, let me check. Call my very good friend Joshua, who's a very well-defended person. I said, can you right now come and bring all of your weapons? He said, I sure can. I said, great. I am going to go real quick, to walk, because for some reason, couldn't leave that night. I didn't have it left in me, but I said, I'm going to go to Walmart in the next town over real quick, and buy a shotgun, which God bless America, I sure fucking did. And I bought a shotgun and a shorter barrel with buckshot, because I'm not fucking around. If I shoot someone, they're going to die. The guy at the Walmart was like, what is this for? And I'm like, home defense. He said, really? I said, I had an incident. He said, that happens. This is a good one. Point and shoot. I'm like, cool. I have a walk-in closet. I could throw Rico in there really quick so he didn't get any of the spray. And it would be a very shoot to kill situation. And so I brought back the shotgun. My friend came over. He stayed here overnight just to make sure that we were very well defended and slept in shifts. And I left town the next day. I don't even remember where I went, but I was like, nope. And I texted fucking homegirl from the dog park, and I was like, you need to tell Tyler that I'm at Walmart right now. I sent pictures of my new shotgun, and I'm like, I'm going to kill him if he comes to my house. And she types back, and she's like, what? He's not even dangerous. He really likes you. You should give him a chance. I'm like, girl, go live in whatever fantasy reality you're living in. There's a lot of poor areas around Sedona, so she was on some kind of good high that she thought that this dude was super cool and safe. And I was like, you need to tell him that I have a shotgun and I will shoot him to kill. And then I called the Sedona Police Department and let them know what happened and said, I don't really know where he is. I don't really have any information, but if you could keep an extra eye out on my area, this is very, very, very terrifying. And told her to let him know, look, I am protected and all of the very bad things are going to happen if he comes on my property. And I've already alerted the local police that that's the case. And so they'll be doing drive-bys. But in addition to that, I will kill him if he comes to my property. And that's my listener's tale. And so the amount of times that I said to May on my little Gen X girlfriend, little X-Files, May Fox edition private podcast that I send to her that I listen to these listeners' tales, but I myself do not have a listener's tale. Then I was leaving her this whole ass story, and she's like, how did you not tell me this whole ass story about your love life? And I'm like, it was over the span of a week, the 3 times that we hung out, barely, in which I was clear with him that I was like, I will eat your $1,000 dinner, but I will not date you. I understand that could be perceived as mixed messages, but I was like, no. And then he said the most disgusting shit that a person has ever said to a woman, and had his mom's birthday. God damn, what the fuck? What the actual fucking fuck? Holy shit. Jesus. That's my listener's tale. And I am very lucky that I had Lola, and I am very lucky that I did not end up in a box in his RV. I really am. And the advice that the FBI agent gave me when I had a stalker, and in this case also, is this is a mental disorder and they have to have a response. And even if it's that somebody is posting and they get a response, then they feel like that's feeding them in some way. But because you're so private, completely disengage, never contact him directly. And the FBI agent let me know that if they cannot get a terror response or an emotional response back, or which I know that sounds like a terror response, but the violence response sort of doesn't count, especially if they think it's a real actual threat. If they don't get a response that they're looking for that feeds the psychological thing that's making them stalk someone, and if you actually just can physically get away and they can't engage with you, it's not going to feed the thing that they need to be fed in order to keep up the addiction to that person. So if you can just almost be indifferent, or be like, yeah, you can do this if you want, but it's going to super not go well for you. This is what my interpretation of what he told me. What a stalker wants from someone is fear, terror, control, isolation, harm, or love, but their perception of love is so insane that control. is what they're reaching for. And if they know for sure that they'll never be able to get that because there's no attainability towards that. And also if you're super private, I wouldn't get away with it now because he would think I was talking to him through this video. If you're super isolated and private and like they don't have any feedback loop, that's actually what will make a stalker lose interest. And then they'll go on to a target where they can terrify them because that's part of the control element. All right, that's it. That's my whole listener's tale. It's way too long. I'm going to cut this down so much. I've been recording for like an hour and 58 minutes. This is either going to be a two-parter or it's going to be, because brevity also not my strong suit, or it's going to be knocked down into one. And a lot of this will have gotten cut out but I feel like in homage to Elena to the max, it probably will be a two-parter, kid. My family's from Boston. I don't have the worst accent. It's ridiculous. But it might be a two-parter, kid. All right. Peace out. Wicked sick. Like talking to you. Join me next time on a Sticker Wars episode. Grab your popcorn, grab your wine, and as always, I will bring all of the tea and the multiple Tiger King-esque version of Sticker Wars. It's a $42 billion industry that nobody knew existed. So all you cool cats and kitties, bring your friends to listen to the next episode of Sticker Wars on Andrea Lake 101, The Making of a Billionaire.